All right, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the March 5th, 2026 meeting of the Minnetonka Planning Commission. The Commission generally meets twice a month, always on a Thursday. The schedule and tentative meeting agendas can be obtained by calling the Planning Division or by checking the city website at minnetonkamn.gov. The Commission holds public hearings on land use applications. For all land use applications, the city notifies property owners within at least 400 feet of the site and posts plans and information on minnetonkamn.gov. For some applications, the city also places signs on the properties and places notices in the Sun Sailor. From a specific process standpoint, the Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on rezonings, subdivisions, and conditional use permits, and amendments to the city's comprehensive guide plan, zoning ordinance and subdivision, and guide plan, zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. We also make final decisions on site plans, signage requests, variance requests, and expansion permits, unless these requests are part of an application that must be heard by the City Council. In that case, the Commission makes recommendations and the City Council makes a final decision. Anyone aggrieved by a final Planning Commission decision may appeal the decision to the City Council. If you wish to appeal, you must submit a written request to City staff within 10 days of this meeting. From a broader standpoint, the City's comprehensive guide plan, zoning ordinance, and subdivision regulations are the City's best efforts to codify a balance between individual rights and community responsibilities. Individual rights are easy to understand. Community responsibilities are more subtle, but the idea is that we, as members of the community, agree to limit our individual rights for the common good of the group. The Planning Division, the Planning Commission, and the City Council are charged with managing this sometimes difficult balancing act. We ask that you keep this broader perspective in mind as we review tonight's applications. To make meetings more efficient, in 2026, the city's boards and commissions have introduced a new process for public comments. If you wish to speak at tonight's meeting, please fill out a public comment card like this. They're available right there over at the, well, not at the speaker's podium, but near staff. The cards will be collected before the public hearing portion of the meeting, and I will announce your name when it's your turn to speak. Apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Again, welcome. Staff, please call roll.
Minion.
Here.
Sure.
Here.
Banks.
Here.
Brink.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Chair Waterman.
Here, there are 6 of us tonight. All right. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. And staff, I believe there's a change memo.
Yes, Chair Waterman. 2 items. First, we're hoping that the Commission will indulge us and place item 9A as other business on your agenda this evening. Because Ms. Wishnak is with us tonight, we thought we'd take the opportunity to give the 2025 annual report for the Community Development Department. You deal with only a few of us in community development, but we thought you might be interested in hearing the rest. And then item 8B, it's very minor. We're asking that you make a change to the resolution. This is a cut and paste error on my part. I just cut from a residential subdivision report previously. So we're just removing the term residential from that finding in the resolution. And we'll make sure that change is carried forward to the City Council.
Great, thank you. So recognizing the change memo, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion Minion.
Second.
Second Banks. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Next up, item number 4, approval of minutes from the February 19th, 2026 meeting. Commissioners, any changes? Seeing no changes, may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Commissioner. Motion Brink.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Scher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Item number 5, report from staff. Ms. Thomas, I believe this is you.
Yeah, Chair Waterman and Commissioners, 2 council meetings to report on. On February 23rd, there was 1 Planning Commission item on that agenda, and that was the introduction of the ordinance amending the master development plan that's before you this evening. If you'll recall, master development plans can only be approved and amendments can only be approved by ordinance, which takes the council first considering it and referring that to you. So that was just a procedural step on the 23rd. And then usually I don't report on study sessions, but on this Monday, on March 2nd, right before their study session, the council appointed our former chair, Chair Maxwell, as the Ward 2 council member. So that's why she's not here with us this evening. And so that was exciting and a little bit sad for us. The council will now decide how they want to move forward with the vacancy now on the Planning Commission, and we'll just keep you up to date on that. And my last announcement, if you don't have it on your calendar already, April the 29th, which is a Wednesday evening, will be our annual,
I moved it to 22nd. I know.
sorry, April 22nd, is the annual Boards and Commissions dinner. You should receive, if you have not already, an invitation from the admin department. Did I forget anything, Ms. Wishnak?
I think that's good.
Okay. I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Great, thank you. Let's see, next item number 6, report from planning commissioners. Commissioners, anything to report? Commissioner Minion.
Just want to say hats off to the city for the Minnetonka Academy. We finished up our last class this few days ago, and the planners did a wonderful job in their presentation. But I just want to encourage folks, if you have the opportunity to ever get involved in it, I believe they're going to do it every year. It was a fantastic class, a great way to see how our city works, so get a small insight in, and they did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Banks.
Just a quick question in the report from the staff. Thank you for that. I did hear the date for the board commission dinner, but I did not hear the date for our next meeting.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Commissioner Banks. I do like to end on that note usually. Our next meeting is scheduled for March the 26th. So you have 2 weeks off.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I just want to, before we move on, I do want to just take a moment to thank Commissioner Maxwell, I suppose in absentia, for her outstanding service for maybe 5 or 6 years. I know she and I started at the same time. Really will miss her here. Really will miss her perspective on this council. I imagine she's kind of probably happy to get out of this chair and move back over there. You could always tell she sort of missed that, but really excited for her role as a city council rep, and congratulate her for getting that nomination. So just want to thank her for everything that she did, and I'm sure she'll be watching some of these videos. Okay, we can move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is where city staff places items that are considered routine in nature on the consent agenda. No staff or applicant presentations will be made. The commission will hold one public hearing and approve all items on the consent agenda with one motion, subject to the staff recommended conditions of approval. Before voting on the consent agenda, I will open the public hearing, announce each item, and ask if anyone wishes to have a separate discussion or vote on that item. If so, the commission will then remove that item from the consent agenda and hold a separate hearing on it after voting on the remaining consent agenda items. I may allow informational questions without removing an item from the consent agenda. First up, I'll open the public hearing. The first and only item on the consent agenda tonight is 7A, a preliminary and final plat of Carlson's Linner Road addition at 1923 and 1939 Linner Road, with the recommendations that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the preliminary and final plats. Does any commissioner wish to remove this item? Have a further discussion? Seeing no one. Any member of the audience wish to remove it and have further discussion? Okay, no one wishes to speak. I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, may I have a motion to approve the item on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Motion Johnson.
Move to approve, subject to the conditions stated in the staff report.
Very well. Okay. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second Banks. Do you poll staff? You have to poll this one? Staff, please poll the commission.
Minion.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Brink.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Chair Waterman.
Yes. All right. There were 6 of us, so the item is approved. And I believe this is a recommendation to the City Council, and they'll consider it on March 23rd.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Next up is the non-consent agenda. Number 8, we do have 2 items on this agenda for tonight. Before we begin consideration of those, I'd like to review the steps in the process and the public hearing procedure that we will follow for each. First up, I will announce the item, and the staff will report on the subject. The commissioners will ask questions, and then the applicant will be invited to make a presentation or offer comments. The commissioners may ask additional questions at that time, and then after the applicant is finished, the public hearing will be open to give anyone who has submitted a public comment card the opportunity to comment on the proposal, which I will call up. As mentioned, comment cards are over there. If you want to speak, now is sort of the time to indicate that you'd like to do that. We ask that you keep your comments brief and try not to repeat any points already made. Once everyone has spoken, we may allow speakers to return for additional comments at larger meetings. If there are any neighborhood spokespeople, they are encouraged, and it will be given up to 15 minutes to present. Let's see, the first item on tonight's non-consent agenda, item 8A, request for a floodplain alteration permit and a conditional use permit to construct a pool at 2348 Ford Road. And this is a recommendation that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the proposal. 4 votes would be required. I guess this was supposed to be Mr. Ingvelson, but Ms. Thomas. Suppose we're up.
Chair and Commissioners, yeah, I'm going to fill in for Mr. Ingvelson here tonight. As the chair noted, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the Council approval of the 2 requests before you tonight for this property. This site is about 20,000 square foot lot in the northeast quadrant of the city. You can tell this was Mr. Ingvelson's report, and I put it together quick here. Northeast corner of the city on Ford Road. It does contain a single dwelling that was built around 1961, and then a sport court in the rear yard. The property is generally flat, except for that the far rear yard, which you can see on the right-hand photo, slopes upwards. And that area is considered, that full slope is considered a steep slope by city code definition, which means that it rises at least 20 feet and has an average grade of over 20%. The flat area is essentially a 100-year floodplain area, much of that property, which is shown in the middle diagram or aerial photo here. I want to step aside out of this specific project to do a quick refresher, or maybe a first time, on floodplain, and because it can be confusing even for those of us that deal with the ordinance on a regular basis. So floodplain is an area that's subject to periodic flooding. And the boundary of that area, this blue blob, is not arbitrary. It's actually based on engineered models. And those models were recently updated in the last 3 years maybe to reflect the precipitation that we're getting these days as opposed to many years ago when the models were first put into place. Floodplain storage volume is protected by city code. And what I mean by that is the floodplain location and its shape on a property can be manipulated so long as the storage volume is maintained. And that's really an engineering function. It's an equation. Show us that you have the same amount of volume. Floodplain is not to be confused with wetland. Though they sometimes coexist, they're not the same in terms of regulation. That is an area where water covers the soil or is present at or near the surface of the soil. And the boundary of a wetland has to be determined by a specially trained wetland professional called a wetland delineator. And there's our former colleague, a wetland delineator, out delineating a wetland. Delineation requires more than what we can just see above grade. You can see he's looking at the actual properties of the soil. And in Minnetonka and regionally, state, federally, wetlands are protected. You can't manipulate a wetland in the city of Minnetonka. Floodplain and wetland are not to be confused with stormwater management facilities, and those are facilities that are constructed above or below ground. So above in the upper right-hand corner shows a little rain garden, and then below ground are these infiltration chambers. These are required to manage essentially runoff from a site's impervious surface, and they are required by city code when we have certain development projects coming before us. So thank you for indulging me. One more slide. Floodplain is naturally occurring. It can be manipulated. You have to maintain storage volume. Wetlands naturally occurring cannot be changed. And then stormwater management is what we require be constructed to manage for runoff. I bring all that together to say there is not any wetland on this property. The city did do some research, the applicants did some research, delineation was done. There is no wetland, there is floodplain only on this site. So jumping back into the actual proposal, the applicant is proposing to construct a 20 by 40 pool and associated apron in the backyard of the lot, and it would be located within that blue blob, the floodplain area. The proposal requires two actions. First is approval of a floodplain alteration permit. The areas that are shown in green here are areas that would be filled. So we're putting down dirt, or where the pool itself is going. And then the areas shown in red are areas where soil will be excavated to essentially make up that floodplain storage area. The second requirement is for a conditional use permit. Our ordinance actually says with a conditional use permit, you can put a pool in a floodplain area. Staff does support these two requests with those conditions that are outlined in your resolution. First, because going back to this slide, this property has virtually no buildable area but for floodplain alteration. The alteration itself represents less than 2% of the much larger floodplain area. And the alteration will actually increase storage volume by 2 cubic yards of storage. And we secondly support the conditional use permit because all of the standards that were outlined in Drew's lengthy report, all of those standards are met. And so with that, I would turn it back to the commission for questions.
Great, thanks, Ms. Thomas. Commissioners, any questions at this time? All right. No questions. Okay, at this time the applicant is invited to make a presentation or offer comments. If you'd like, applicant here. We have an applicant on the phone, but that was for another.
That was for the first project.
Okay. Commissioners, were you hoping to ask any questions of the applicant? All right, moving right along. I will now open the public hearing. I actually have the public comment cards, but none for this item. Figure I'd just ask any takers. Anyone really want to talk about this one? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. In that there were no questions or comments, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Brink, did you have a comment or question? Or?
Oh, just a question out of curiosity. Has there been any history of flooding back there that we know of?
Chair Waterman and Commissioner Brink, not that I'm aware of, not that my colleague has passed on to me, it's very flat back there. Perhaps the applicant or owner can nod if you've had flooding or...
We haven't had any flooding. We've only lived there 2013 or 14, so nothing within a decade.
Just for the record, I'll note that the property owner commented that they hadn't had any flooding since they moved in 2013.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to comments. Anyone have comments on this one?
I just noticed doing the drive-by, it really helped. The graduated scale, the topography was almost too coarse because there's quite a bit of volume, meaning there's the spot to the north, there's quite a bit of spots where it drops down significantly, like 3.5 feet or so. So if you, this view you see right now, like the red square to the right of that. Anyway, I like the fact that it's kind of at a zero near net. They're actually increasing the volume a little bit. And if you look at the graduations on the topography, they're accurate, but what I'm saying is there's smaller like creeks running through there, or I shouldn't say a creek, but there's room for the water to run. So if the water is a problem at all, there's plenty of space for it to fill in my opinion, for driving by.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? All right, it seems like we might be ready for a motion. May I have a motion regarding, this is item 8A, request for floodplain alteration permit and a conditional use permit to construct a pool at 2348 Ford Road. And this is a recommendation that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the proposal.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion Minion,
I'll second that motion.
second Banks. Staff, please call roll.
Minion,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Johnson, Chair Waterman.
Yes, that's 6 votes. The item, 6 votes, and the item passes. Good luck with your project. All right, moving on to item 8B. This is items concerning the former Opus buildings at 10350 and 10380 Bren Road West. This is a recommendation that the City Council adopt the ordinance and resolution approving the proposal. 4 votes would be required for this. Ms. Thomas, once again, this is your item.
Thank you again. What we call the former Opus site is about 13 acres centrally located in the much larger 640-acre Opus 2 development. It currently contains 2 office buildings that can function separately and independently, but are linked by a 3-story office space. They were constructed over the course of about 10 years, the first in 1998, and that is the southerly building, and then the northerly building back in 2007. And they were constructed really as a corporate campus, so single-user buildings. It was in 2007 that the city approved a master development plan for the site. And a master development plan, as a reminder, is a plan that provides a general overview of development on a property. Typically, it includes several plans: a grading plan, a site plan, a landscape plan, most particularly building locations and parking locations. And once approved, that master development plan really establishes what the city's expectations are for development. HQ LLC, who's the owner of the property, is intending to sell the site, and unfortunately, office use for these single-user buildings for the entire property just doesn't meet market demand these days. And as a result, the owner is proposing to divide the property into 2 lots. This is not survey accurate. This is my own depiction of the subdivision here. And then remove that link between the 2 buildings and the northerly building. The southerly building and all of the parking facilities, so the surface lots and the parking decks on both properties, would remain. Currently, again, the applicant is proposing to sell the properties, so there's no actual plan for redevelopment of that northerly site. This does require, as the chair pointed out, 2 actions. The first is to approve the master development plan that was initially approved back in 2007. Let me say that again. It's to amend the master development plan that was approved back in 2007. And this amendment essentially allows for there to only be 1 building on the property, removal of that northerly building. The second approval required is for these plats. The plat is the mechanism to divide that property into 2 lots. Staff does support those applications for the 3 reasons here. First and perhaps foremost is that this amendment to the master development plan does not authorize a new land use or construction on that northerly lot. If a buyer purchases this property and they propose even building another office building there, that has to come back before this body and go to the city council only, or also, excuse me. So this only approves removal of that building. Second, there's minimal earthwork and no tree removal that's required. Only that building, kind of the sidewalks and patios around it, would be removed. And then third, the plat does meet city regulations with regard to the way it has been laid out. Before I turn it back to the council, I did want to report on a neighborhood, or excuse me. Ms. Wishnak knows that I call the council commissioners all the time, and so now you're the council. Apologize for that. I do want to report on a neighborhood meeting that the property owner did host last week. It was well attended. We had 12 area residents living in the condominium buildings that are north of this site. I've also had some conversations with various residents since that day, and I would say that several questions were asked that I think can be placed in two categories. The first is really related to the future plans for the property, and wanting to understand if there were any plans. Meeting attendees expressed that they would not like to see more residential in the Opus Park. I think maybe the pendulum has swung from a primarily office development area to now predominantly residential, or at least that has been what's been built there. They would prefer to see something more commercial or retail in nature. The second group of questions related to the demolition of the building, hours, timeline, possible off-site impacts such as noise, and the applicant did address those questions. I'll kind of recap. Again, they don't know what a future owner may propose for the site. Demolition, and please correct me if I'm wrong when you have the opportunity to speak, demolition would occur over about a 2-month period using excavator type equipment, so there's going to be no explosion or implosion of that building. City hours do allow for work between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., but the applicant suggested that 5 p.m. is probably a more realistic time. And certainly people that are here this evening can also report on what they heard at that meeting. So with that, I would turn it back to the chair.
Great, thanks, Ms. Thomas. Commissioners, any question for city staff? Commissioner Johnson.
I would just like to know what types of uses would be allowed on this second property where it's demolished.
Chair and Commissioner Johnson, the entirety of the Opus development is guided in our master development plan, or excuse me, our comprehensive guide plan for mixed use. And in Minnetonka, we use mixed use not to mean that there has to be a mix of uses on the property specific, but that a variety of uses may be appropriate. So yeah, anything from residential to office to commercial would be things that the city would entertain. Not to get too far into the weeds, but the city does have an area, I can't ever remember the acronym, an AUAR.
Alternative Urban Area Review.
For the entire park, which means we look at the park, the Opus Park as a whole, where we have done kind of speculating out what kind of development may occur on properties and analyzing the traffic, water resources, utility uses, environmental impacts, all of those things assuming kind of a worst case scenario for each of the properties there. And we're in the process of updating that now. Maybe too much information.
Good. Any other questions? Commissioner Minion.
Will you talk a little bit, and maybe this is more for the applicant, but the temporary rock driveway, is that something that was going to drag stuff out in the street, or is that, can you talk a little bit about, it's already pretty well covered right now in pavement. Is that just kind of a boilerplate language, or do you see something actually happening?
Chair Waterman and Commissioner Minion, and the rock driveway is something that we require as part of any plan that involves construction or demolition. The intent really is to shake off from the trucks that may be hauling to get them to shake and shake off all of their soil that they may be carrying before they get out onto the city streets.
All right. Seeing no other questions, I'd like to invite the applicant to come up and give a presentation. Welcome. Yeah, if you just state your name and address for the
Yes.
record. And
Yes, good evening. Jim Montalbano, 2091 Hartford Avenue, St. Paul, Minnesota. Yeah, I didn't know if I needed to fill that out or not, so. So I'll just repeat, my name is Jim Montalbano and I work with Founders Properties. We act as the asset manager and the representative on behalf of the owner, HQ LLC. I appreciate the Planning Commission's time and consideration regarding the property owner's application to subdivide the 10350 and 10380 Brent Road parcels, which involves a master development plan amendment and removal of the existing building currently on the 10350 Brent Road site. I also like to thank Susan Thomas for her assistance and guidance during this process. Her presentation this evening accurately reflects our application and what we are trying to accomplish through the subdivision and master development plan amendment. In essence, we are seeking to subdivide the property to accommodate a potential future sale of the 10350 Brent Road building. I'm joined this evening by other project team members who are available to answer any questions that you may have regarding our application. I just wanted to say thank you again for your time and your consideration.
great. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Minion.
Will you paint a vision for us for the neighbors in this area about how you see the demolition process happening, the impact it'll have on the residential folks and the commercial folks, timelines, things like that, and the impacts, ways you can reduce the impact on the environment and the neighborhood?
Sure. Pat, would you be able to take this question? Thank you.
Welcome. If you don't mind just stating your name and address.
Yeah, Pat Rumsa, and 7600 Harriet Avenue, Richfield. So maybe starting with just the general process for the demolition, it generally will be held or performed by excavator type of machinery. For some of the higher work, it will be a high reach machine. So in general, building gets taken down and then processed on the ground with excavator type of equipment on the ground. Effects to neighbors, we are close vicinity to the trail. We will not be closing down the trail at all. That will remain open throughout demolition. No closures to roadways or anything like that. So would anticipate, as far as getting around the neighborhood, would not anticipate effects to that. It will be about a 2-month duration for the demolition of the building. And then that's in addition to just, you can see on the depiction here that the buildings are connected. So when the building is demolished, we will restore that 10350 building to its original condition on the north facade. So that reconstruction of that facade will be in addition to the 2 months of demolition.
Thank you. What can you tell me, like, just some of the mitigation things you'll be going through in regards to protecting water runoff, dust? Are you going to be using like fire hoses to keep the dust down? Will you be doing a grinding on the place, or will you be just hauling it out in trucks type of a thing, or will you actually grind down your products there on site? And then just kind of paint me a picture as well as what it's going to look like when you're done, what'll be there. You did a really good job of putting this all together and writing it up, but kind of looking for your vision of what you see when it's going to look like when it's done.
Sure. So maybe starting with water runoff. So there is a stormwater pollution protection plan, prevention plan, that's worked up by our civil engineer. We have a representative from our civil engineer, Sambatech, here if you want further details on that. But mainly it involves containing any water that that falls in the site or runs off within this construction area, within our disturbed area, and filters it before it makes its way to the pond that's adjacent to us or any other public stormwater. So that generally consists of silt fence and erosion control logs that would be placed around the disturbed area. As far as dust control, you described it pretty well. It is pretty much fire hoses. We either have fire trucks on site or connect to a fire hydrant and water down the demolition work as it's happening so that we're not generating dust and polluting the air with that. What the site will look like when it's done. So generally this will just, where the building currently stands, will get regraded. We'll put about 6 inches of topsoil there, and then that will all get seeded. So until there's a redevelopment of the property, it will just it'll just have that seed mixture there.
Kind of back to one of the questions, I slid them a lot of them at you, I apologize. But are you going to be actually grinding materials on the site, or are you just going to use the thumb, crush it, and put it in a truck and haul it away?
Yeah, no grinding on site. So they will be doing some processing, you know, kind of like, for example, the concrete that's on site, they'll be crushing that and recycling as much as they can. So there will be some of that crushing operation there, but no grinding.
Other questions? I know Commissioner Banks, I saw you had signaled, but you're good? All right. Commissioner Scher.
Thank you for your time. Quick question just about recycling any of the materials other than concrete. So any building systems, window systems, brick. Is there any plan for recycling or reuse of those materials?
Yes, so where we do need to refurbish the north facade of the 10350 building, we'll use salvaged materials from the 10380 building. That'll generally be brick and glass that we would reuse there. Otherwise, about the estimate is that about 50% of the building by weight will be recycled. Between steel, concrete, the roof is copper, so a lot of items there to be recycled. And then prior to mass demolition starting, there will be materials salvaged from inside the building. Mainly, we think that's going to consist of electrical switchgear, main electrical components, mechanical components. So some of those items that have value as salvaged material will also be taken out of there before mass demolition.
Commissioner Brick.
Yes, thank you for your input here. Just a question, the property that is not going to be touched, 10350, other than that connecting piece there that's being removed, will that still be in operation while the demolition is going on, or will they kind of take a hiatus while it's, you know, all the noise and crushing's going?
That building will be in operation, and I office in that building, so I'll hear all about it if that's not going well.
All right, thank you.
All right, looks like no other questions. Thank you so much. We might have you back. I'll now open the public hearing. I only had the one comment card, and that was from the applicant. So I just want to confirm, if anyone else wants to comment on this, I think we've got a bit of time here. All right, seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, any other questions for staff? Any comments? Who would like to go first? Commissioner Banks.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, given, you know, the state of the economy and the market changes that have happened over the years, I think this makes a lot of sense. I like the idea that you guys reached out to the neighbors there and had communications with them. That's always a great thing, getting feedback and incorporating that. The minimal earth work and especially no tree removal is always a great thing here in the city of Minnetonka. And then I did have questions about the erosion and the regrade, but you were able to answer that with the commissioner's questions. So good to know that, it'll be topsoil and probably beautiful landscape, or at least just grass growing in that area until someone determines that they want to do something with it. So I'm for this, and I do, if it is approved, I do wish you guys the best of luck here.
Thank you. Other comments? Commissioner Brink.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I echo Commissioner Banks' comments there, and kind of understanding the economics of our times and the reasons for taking the building down. Although it's a shame, you drive by and it's a beautiful looking building and it's not that old, so it's hard to see that, but understanding the reasoning there. But it's for marketing the site, and you've certainly done your due diligence with the grading plans and erosion control and so forth, and I think the location is great. You're very close to the light rail station, so it would seem like it would be very marketable for something. But anyway, it's a good plan, and I'll be in favor of it.
Thank you. Other comments? Commissioner Minion.
It's kind of nice going third. I ditto everything you guys said. I agree. I like the professionalism that you brought to this. I really appreciate the fact that you reached out to the community. It's possible for this to go wrong quickly, but I think you guys have presented yourself very professionally. And I appreciate the fact that you've got a plan in place to mitigate some of the problems that are going to come up before you even get there. But I'm sad to see the building gone. It's a beautiful facility, but I'm in support of it. So I understand things change, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay. Seems like we're ready for a motion. That would be a motion. If you want to make the motion, you want to make the whole thing?
That the city council adopt an ordinance approving the amendment to the master development plan.
All right. Motion Johnson. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second Chair. Staff, please poll the commission.
Minion.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Brink.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Chair Waterman.
Yes. Item passes. Let me see. That is a recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council will consider. Nope, I'm incorrect on that.
You're correct on that. The motion was made just for the amendment, so we need another motion for the plats.
I'm sorry, I need another motion for the.
Another
CUP.
motion for the preliminary and final plats. I
Oh,
heard
okay,
that
so-
the motion was
all right.
just for the master development plan.
Okay,
Just-
so this
just for
item
the
may
record,
be,
yep.
these are two items concerning the former Opus building at 10350 and 10380 Bren Road West. Recommendation that the City Council adopt the ordinance and the preliminary and final, the major amendment to the existing master development plan, and adopting the resolution approving the preliminary and final plats. Poll the commission again. Someone want to?
Are we just changing the motion, or are we doing the motion over?
I can do a second motion. I think there's different areas to consider in these things, and I would recommend, make a motion recommending the City Council adopt a resolution approving the preliminary and final plat.
There we go. Thank you. Motion Johnson. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second Chair. Staff, please poll the commission.
Minion.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Brink.
Yes.
Johnson. Chair Waterman.
Yes. All right. That motion passes as well. Good luck with your project. This is a recommendation to the City Council. The Council will consider this item on March 23rd, 2026. Moving on to item number 9, other business. And Ms. Wishnack, I believe this is yours.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, commissioners. We do this annually where we show you kind of all of the work that community development has been conducting over the past year. This is a fun staff meeting. We're actually changing our software on our computer, so we happen to be together for this picture. So it was just a few weeks ago. Let's just jump. We, of course, don't do anything like in a PDF. Oh, just a minute. Hang on. There we go. So we can't really just give you a PDF. We have to do a storyboard on GIS, and one of our planners did it in helping people just digest our information in a little bit easier way. So that's what this is. It's one of the projects that had been finished in 2025. The way these storyboards work, if you haven't ever looked at one of our storyboards, it's really just a series of tabs, and you can either navigate it through the tabs, or you can just go to this and pan through with your mouse. So if did we send this to them too? We
have not sent this out. It was just published today, so this
Okay.
is literally hot off the press.
Hot
so we
off
will
the
send it
press.
to you.
Right. So we'll make sure you get this link, and that way you can digest a little bit more of it after I talk to you about what it says. I always have this kind of first part that tells you about what the staff is. We have about 30 full-time and part-time employees. Our part-timers tend to be in our inspections area, so as we need inspectors, they come on board, and when we don't, they stay home. And it's a really nice relationship we have with a number of inspectors, especially in the electrical area. That is a very volatile kind of inspection area in terms of the need and timing and that sort of thing. So we often will have on-call inspectors coming in for that. Lots of different kinds of backgrounds of people in terms of what their degrees are and what kinds of certifications and licensing they have. So there's 24 degrees that we have in the department. There's 43 certifications, and then people serve on 30 different committees. Things like, Susan, you're in Minnesota APA as well as National APA. I serve on board for the Urban Land Institute for Minnesota, that sort of thing. So 30 committees and community groups that people participate on in terms of our staff. So now we're going to move into the work of the Housing and Economic Development area. So this is like the work that is under the umbrella of the Economic Development Advisory Commission. Sometimes you see some of their work. You might get a little paragraph in your reports that tell you what they said about a project or the financing or affordable housing or transit or what have you. And that's coming from the work of this area. And so in this picture, I like this picture. This is one of the biggest projects we've worked on lately in the housing area. If you're not familiar with Villas of Chasewood, kind of on the southern end of the city, not quite to 62 Crosstown, but it's a pretty large grouping of housing, about 188 units, and they have about 21 buildings, and we were able to issue debt for the improvements to these buildings. So they needed just about everything. They needed new facades, they needed masonry work, they needed patios, deck updates. I'm trying to think what else they were working on. But it almost totaled $11 million. And so there's always this confusion, like, why is the city involved? Why don't they just pay for it themselves? Well, a lot of times, especially the era that this was built, the homeowners associations were never set up probably to handle all of the maintenance. They are today because there are more laws about how that's set up from the beginning. But these older developments don't have that capacity. So we do work with, this is probably our fifth housing improvement area in Minnetonka, but this is probably the largest we've worked on. And so we were able to, again, finance that. And then what happens is the properties are assessed and then pay the city back over time. So it's not like the city is paying anything. We're the conduit for the financing for that to occur. It's really good in this project, and a lot of folks don't probably recognize this, but a lot of the property owners couldn't sell their property. They weren't eligible for mortgages for the reasons of being run down and couldn't insure the property and all those things that kind of come with it, some of the issues that they were dealing with. So really excited to have that project done, and all the updates have been completed. Really exciting. This is a whole nother area, tax increment pooling. Sometimes Susan's eyes glaze over when I talk about tax increment pooling, but I love tax increment pooling. So a while back, the city did receive special legislation to do a special thing. Richfield, St. Louis Park, and Minnetonka got approval to do this. And we could take our pooling TIF dollars, meaning excess TIF, tax increment financing from older districts that we had set up, and using that money then for affordable housing purposes. And so we were able to, we just recently did it, $5.2 million transfer into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And so if you hear us say, oh, we're going to use the trust fund to help, you know, the development get affordable housing units, that's where this fund is coming from. And really excited because that's not the only transfer we've made. There's probably about $7.5 million sitting in the account right now, and we continue to use it for things like rent assistance, homeless intervention, these affordable units long term, etc. So there's lots of excitement about the ability to use that. I have talked to various legislators about making it statewide. We were the kind of the pilot cities, and every city did something kind of different with it, but we were able to fund very different types of project. So we're hoping that eventually this becomes just part of the legislation that sits in the tax increment laws so that other cities can do this without special permission. So working on that. We also conducted, because of kind of what you just saw with the Opus campus, but other buildings, not only in Opus, but across the city, we wanted to make sure we had a most up-to-date information about vacancy in our commercial spaces. And so we did a market study last spring to talk to us about, you know, vacancy rates, what anticipation of vacancy rates. At the time we did it, it was about 16.8% vacant. We're a little bit higher than that. We are doing better than most areas in our sector, kind of the west metro area. We're a little less vacant, if that's a word, than other markets. So we're doing okay, but we do have to be sensitive and be really out front with marketing some of these sites. So Susan and Alicia, who works with us on the housing and economic development side, kind of came together to say, hey, we need city information about these buildings so it's quick and easy to get at for these developers to look at the properties. Because typically what will happen is they'll call a planner and they'll get kind of the rundown of what could be done on the property, kind of like Commissioner Johnson, your question about what could be at the property, right? So we kind of preload the answers into a special website for some of these sites like Boston Scientific, the Opus area. Oh, is it in here? Sorry.
That's all right, you'll get to it.
We're not quite there. I'll go back to that in a minute. We'll show you what it looks like. Let's see, in terms of affordable housing, just to finish out that idea, there was $150,000 where there was a local housing trust fund grant issued to the city to support a transitional house at the Vale. So this is an interesting concept. So we wanted to make sure we could have a unit at that building or any building where this is a pilot project to try to figure out if we had a homeless issue where we're intervening with somebody's housing, can we put them temporarily in this unit in the Vale and then have them stay there for a period of time until there's a stable home for them to go to. So this is called a transitional unit. We're actually paying rent through this grant to the unit and to the building, and then we're able to place people in that unit. It's working well. I can tell you already we've had people in the unit, and it's really nice not to put them in a hotel, which is normally what happens to people who have housing issues in our area. The second area is we were able to, there's lots of funding that went into the Habitat project, and you can probably see it's not quite under construction, but we're getting there probably this spring. And there was $420,000 issued to that project through a grant writing. And then Homes Within Reach, which is our land trust, got $300,000. So Kendall and Alicia and those folks in our department are always working on grant opportunities. In terms of planning, which you see all the time, so this is not new information to you, but we do highlight some of the projects that you looked at over the last year and try to point out things that are of interest. And the other thing we do this for, and I go back and look at these reports all the time, when did this happen? When did something get built? You know, just it's an easy guide and kind of almost a journaling of your work as you went through it over the years. You know, Marsh Run 3, we got through review. We're close on permitting that, aren't we? We're close. You'll see construction there this year. Oh, here's the one pager I was talking about. So Cargill, this is another example of a vacant office space. So the R&D facility that they've had there for years, that's been vacant 10 years, I think no one's been in that building. And so Cargill is going to be selling the property. So we do a quick rundown of the property, and then what you don't see on this page is there's a ton of links underneath that show what's the city's affordable housing policy, what's the regulation on tree conservation, all of the links that they need to make decisions about whether or not they want to purchase it are right here at the website.
And as Julie said, we have probably 4 big office properties in Minnetonka that are actively on the market right now. They're vacant. And so we have these web pages set up for each of those 4 properties to help people make decisions and to help us when we have meetings. I think Julie and I were joking, but it's not an exaggeration. We had a meeting this week on this property that was probably our 15th meeting with a 15th different developer on this property. So it's helpful just to give people a link rather than having the same conversation.
And you know what else I think it helps with, Susan, is the data is consistent for the person looking at it. So we're not giving one piece of information to one developer and another piece to another. So it really kind of evens the field for what information they're getting from the city. And then anybody can do the meeting. So if it's Susan or a different planner, that they're all kind of singing off the same song sheet. Moving into sustainability, and boy, did we have a good meeting today about sustainability. We were getting some updates on the greenhouse gas emissions for the city and how much reduction we've had. We've been tracking it since 2007, and so we've seen a really good decline in greenhouse gas emissions, not just because Xcel is changing from fossil fuel to renewable energy, but because people are doing things in the community. So we'll unveil that soon, and we'll show people what the advances have been. This is a picture of last year's sustainability awards. We're actually out for awards when are we going to put I don't remember, is it March?
Anyone can apply to or present their project for a possible award online right now.
Are they closed yet? No.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so you can still look. Here's the public service announcement. If you know of somebody who has done a really cool sustainability project, we want to recognize them. And then the idea is that the more people you recognize, the more the database grows so that you can show that to other people in the city about what they can do. So we have businesses, we have residents, we have students. It's quite a difference in terms of what kinds of projects we're looking at. So last year's winners, yay. And then we've been doing a lot of outreach to other groups of folks. This is a picture from our Minnetonka Business Council meeting, which is a group of chamber representatives, and we go and we produce, different programs about subject matters of interest about the city. And this one happened to be about the climate action plan. And so basically our folks in Sustainability Alley is presenting here, and she's showing people what the different options are. And again, these are business owners, and they want to know, what kind of programs can they apply for, and what kind of efficiency they can have in their buildings. So we had a pretty good attendance at that meeting, and it's a good group of folks. We were excited too about the Energy Squad visit campaign. Who has had an Energy Squad visit? Thank you, Chair Waterman. 54 visits a month. We are so much higher than we were, so this is really cool. This takes a lot of effort. We do a lot of promotion and excited, try to get people excited about doing this. I don't know, Chair, if you want to share why you did it or what the good outcomes were of your visit.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, it was compliment. It's been a couple of years now, but I remember. I mean, they had some really cool technology that they used to kind of like just see where there was heat leaking. Covered our water heater, covered certain pipes. Ultimately, and interestingly, recommended no need to
Do
replace
anything
windows.
major.
Yeah, no need to do windows. It's just not. It would not be cost effective for the. And it just kind of gave me a perspective on how much longer I might have on furnace and water heater, and then gave me a whole bunch of light bulbs.
Light bulbs
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Just the light bulbs alone are worth the
Yeah.
visit, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're interested in doing this, just let us know. We'll get you hooked up. These are some of our commissioners that are so dedicated. You all put in your time. I would say yours is mostly meeting time, but the sustainability folks go out to different events that the city is holding and try to be ambassadors about sustainability. So this is one of the events that they were attending, and they're just very dedicated to doing that. And then a little known fact, we do environmental health, and some people know that we do this, some people don't. So we do a lot of public health inspections. So if you eat at a restaurant, we've inspected it. It always has to be inspected at least once a year. And then schools are more often, that's twice a year. So this shows you kind of 531 is the average total inspections that we're doing per year for those facilities. We also have food-related complaints that come in. Let's just say you got sick at a restaurant and you think it had to do with the food. You are reporting that usually through the state, but the state then sends it to the city for investigation. We interview employees, we interview people who are sick, whatever, and try to determine what happened in the situation.
And those are some crazy interviews to hear if you're
Yes.
sitting next
It can get a little graphic, yes, about different issues somebody might have. We've had, this is a bad number, 2,500 nuisance complaints over the last 4 years, and 10 of those have ended in citations. We don't like to end here, but we do have to do that sometimes. And 50 times we ended up in an abatement. So an abatement means that the city's doing the work. The homeowner has agreed for the city to do the work. They sign an abatement agreement, and then we try to help them fix whatever problem, whether it be cleaning up their property, painting, maintenance, what have you. And so that is happening pretty regularly. This is a really strong number again in construction, moving into the building permit area. We do, I would say a good year, we have around 250,000, or 250 million, excuse me, 300 strong. So we've been in the 350s. That's usually in the high time of where you're building a lot of apartment buildings, but a more normal number for Minnetonka is in the 250, 225 range. So again, a very strong year that occurred. I would say too it was a top year in the last 7 years for number of permits. We issue over 10,000 permits in the past year, and we do attribute that to there's definitely been a lot of reinvestment in people's homes. This kind of on the left side of this chart, it tracks residential real estate reinvestment, permit total. So you can see there's an uptick of people doing projects on their homes. And then the value of that, we thought we were high during the pandemic. Our mouths were always open in terms of how much value was being put into residential remodeling, but we were way above that number with 75 million. So it is a strong year on the residential side as well. Yeah, average residential reinvestment per year, 64 million. That's amazing numbers. Now on the new home side, we bop around quite a bit. Sometimes we're in a low category, like 2023, we only did 25 new homes. Last year we did 36. When like 20 years ago, it used to be in the 50s. But again, as properties kind of get redeveloped and re-subdivided, there's just not a lot of room for new housing to be built. in terms of single-family homes. And then the new permit value, you know, this number is always staggering, right? Remember, that number is only the permit value. That is not the total package value. So, what?
I'm going to say this is just the valuation that's placed on the building permit application, which never includes the land.
Yeah.
It's just the construction value.
So add a few more, and then you would have your final number. So anyway, we don't spend a lot of time studying new home construction just because it's not a lot of what our activity. We study more of our multifamily, and we study kind of this reinvestment phenomena that's been happening. So average square feet in a new home between 2021 and 25 is 5,125.
I'll add one caveat to that, that our number, our number in Minnetonka, we include garage space in that because we're, as planners, very interested. I'm very interested. I don't know about anybody else. I'm interested in the mass of a building. Like, what does the building look like?
How big
and
is the house?
garages,
Yeah.
especially 3-car garages, do add a lot of mass. But even if you were to take out a 3-car garage, about 1,000 square feet, we're still at 4,100 square feet for new construction.
Yeah. This number has bounced around a little bit too. It had come down this last year. The size of homes had come down a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And then on licensing, if you don't know, we license just about everything. On and off sale liquor, food, lodging establishments, solicitors, certain types of contractors and businesses. The other thing we do now is charitable gambling, which we had never done before. So we have reports so there's e-tabs, pull tabs, things like that we allow in the community. We're getting the reports back on what their activity has been, and then the city takes 10% of their net profits, and then we'll recirculate that back into the community. So we're also doing that. I forgot to add that this year. There's about 614 facilities that we license every year. And the types of license, you can see that mostly contractors, but then we have business licenses here, and then liquor licenses are here. Tobacco, cigarettes, that sort of thing is in that category as well. And then, of course, the administrative, this cute picture from our tour last year. I love it. This was one of the buildings we went and visited from our summer tour. But in our administration area, there's a lot of paper and electronic paper, and virtual paper. 63 packets were published. That's more than one a week. And as Susan and I always say, we love to be on the newspaper deadline because every week there's some kind of deadline. This week there was 3 deadlines. So 200 reports written by people in the department. And this is everything from EDAC to sustainability to the Economic Development Authority, the City Council, and the Planning Commission, right? So there's a lot to be written. So I will stop there, Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions about our work. There's a more detailed staff memo that is available if people wish to dive further. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wishnak. Fascinating stuff. Commissioners, questions? Looks like Commissioner Minion.
Great job. Great site. It's kind of funny I'm wearing the same hat in that picture. For sustainability side, I know in one of the study sessions a few months ago, they were talking about trying to improve the number of homes that are using electric heat. Do you see any type of grants or incentives to help residents and businesses with that? And the same question regarding stormwater abatement or stormwater treatment. Is there any type of financial incentives that the city's offering for those type of things?
I'll start with the sustainability thing. Allie Sutherland, who is our sustainability coordinator, she's a staff person that I don't think you've met yet. Maybe we should bring her to a planning commission meeting. She is the staff liaison to the Sustainability Commission. Allie is applying for probably 1 grant a month for various types of funds. We have applied for grants for what we call a green cost share program. We haven't started that yet because we haven't received those grant dollars, but we're going to keep going, whereby someone could apply for kind of rebates through the city for different types of things that improve the energy efficiency of their home. And we are really focused on electrification of our residences. So absolutely, we're applying for grants all of the time. In terms of stormwater, that really is a function of our engineering department. We have a water resources manager, and so I would put you in contact with Eric Ekman about that.
Good answer, Susan.
On the green cost share, is that the one that's capped at 25% of the total cost of the project?
We don't have a green cost share program right now at the city of Minnetonka. We're applying for grants in order to fund a program like that. So I can't tell you what our program would look like. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
First, we need the money, and then we can tell you what the program is.
Commissioner Banks?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is a great site. I know we've done reviews like this in the past. It's, it's visually, beautiful and nice to look at. And the information is just well put together, easy to follow. I do want to commend the work that we do, that you all do with the affordable housing and the efforts we take in those areas, and not just with builders, but also with the homeless and the Vail unit that's available. So kudos to you for that, and continue that work. I just had two questions. One on the project website, where you had mentioned like there were 15 builders who had reached out about one of the properties. Do you keep up with like any kind of metrics in terms of how many people are visiting the site and how many people reach out from that, coming from that site? That's the first question.
Okay, the first question, the answer to that, we actually do track development meetings in terms of interested redevelopment within the city. So that is actually in our budget. We have a metric every year to track that. Yes, we do.
On the website, clicks.
Oh, in terms of how many people clicked into it, yes, for sure. Yes, we do that. We track that. That actually, and do they still have the most followers too?
Yes, the Planning Commission, you have the most followers of any.
You do.
We also track commission and how many people click on commission packets and things like that. So
Can you count
you're
those?
winning. You're winning.
Can you count those on one hand or two?
No, it's actually,
Oh,
it's thousands.
It's thousands.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it wasn't 3,000. Derek. Funny. What was your second question? Sorry.
And is with the building and licensing and all of the numbers that you have pertaining to 2025 as well as previous years, do you keep up with those numbers throughout the year to see how you're tracking? If we're, about to blow it out the water this year, or do you just wait to the end of the year and collect all the data?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Derek, because Susan for years has done a monthly report. There's actually a couple monthly reports that come in. One Susan does, and she looks at kind of permanent activity month to month, year to year. There's another report that looks at just the financials. So I get the printouts of commercial, residential, all the investments, and then I kind of look at how we're doing as compared to what I expected. I do pretty good guesswork, I have to say. I don't give myself a compliment very often, but every year I have to kind of predict the construction value of the city for budget purposes, and then I'm actually kind of conservative, but usually we'll hit our targets pretty well, because what we do is we know what projects are going to come in the door. We kind of have an idea because we know what you've been looking at, and then we try to put dollars and cents to that so we have an idea. But every month, we're trying to see if we're on track.
Yeah, and just to add on to those monthly reports, we're not just showing Julie, those of us that provide those reports, not just showing her what's happening in that particular year, but we have a chart that's showing it's the last 3 years, so that we can see the pattern of the last 3 years, and if we're following that pattern. For instance, we know that we have a spike in building permits in like September that we always see. And so it's interesting to track those 3 years kind of simultaneously.
The other thing we watch really closely is we look at the number of inspections per month. And so we'll watch and we'll actually stack for the last, I think we use 10 years. We look at the amount of activity, and that's for a staffing purpose, because if we can't get out to a site within a week, I like 3 days. That's my sweet spot. If I can't get to your site in 3 days, then I get kind of nervous, and I think we need more staff, or at least maybe we need to do overtime to get to these sites, that sort of thing. So we do lots of analytics behind the scenes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate the transparency with the information, and yeah, keep up the great work. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brink.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to real quickly say thank you to staff for this report. It's always humbling to me to see all the things that go on behind the scenes that we never see, and maybe some things we're aware of, some things we're not, but just the scope, the magnitude of different things your department does is very impressive. So again, echo everybody else, keep up the good work.
All right. If nothing else, I believe we are ready to move on to item number 10, adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion Johnson.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Commissioner Scher. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Good night.